This is the book of Jeremiah 26:4. And thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, if you will not hearken to me, to walk in my law, which I have set before you, to hearken to the words of my servants the prophets, whom I sent unto you, both rising up early and sending them, but ye have not hearkened, then will I make this house like Shiloh, and will make this city a curse to all nations of the earth. Revelation 11:14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all glory, all honor, and all praise be to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakakodash. Next, double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as you speckled-bird Hebrew Israelite foreigners that are scattered amongst the heathen. That may look like the heathen nations, whether they are scattered too. I'm your brother Shabai, and a prophecy update. War is here. War is here. Okay, jumping straight into it. It says Babylon the Great and Israel launched a major attack on Iran. Nero urges Iranians to take over. Okay, so this morning, let's just get into it right here. It says the U.S. and Israel launched a major attack on Iran Saturday, which is today. It was earlier this morning. And President Nero called on the Iranian public to seize control of your destiny by rising up against the Islamic leadership that has ruled the nation since 1979. Iran retaliated by firing missiles and drones towards Israel and U.S. military bases in the region. Okay, so missiles is flying. You see that? And ultimately, this is Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai stirring the pot. Okay, and getting the stage prepped, getting the theater prepped for World War III, because this is what it's leading into. All right. So we've been telling you that war is on the way, starting off with our elder apostles and elder bishops on down of the Great Millstone. We've been telling you that war is on the way. All right. And in this grace period, the war hasn't completely popped off yet. Right. So now this is your time to get right. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Now this is your time to get this truth. Okay. Before all hell breaks loose and you're not going to have nothing to hold on to. You're not going to have any wisdom, knowledge, or understanding to keep you stable during all the commotion. You don't know the movie or the Lord's plans or his will. This is Habakkuk 2:3. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. So World War III is coming. Okay, the destruction of Babylon the Great, which is America in the scriptures through ICBM missiles, is coming. The economy is going to crash. You see that? Revelation 13:16, we understand that this war, World War III, cannot pop off before the R-fighting micro C-hip is instated in the earth and is mandatory for you to buy, for you to sell, for you to work, for you to get gas. All these things are set for an appointed time that Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai has. Okay? And like it says in 2 Esdras, the 9th chapter, right now you're supposed to be measuring the times diligently in itself. Okay? Because there's a time for everything. Right? And Lord willing, we'll get that in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. There's a time for love. There's a time for peace. There's a time for, you already had the time of the 90s where it was mirth and, you know, going outside and cookouts and all. Now is not that time. You see that? So right now, let's read this, 2 Esdras 9:1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. When thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Okay, and we understand that Yahweh Shai, okay, the Heavenly Father is going to send Yahweh Shai at the end, towards the tail end of World War III. And the Lord told us to measure thou the times diligently in itself. So you're supposed to be looking at the news, filtering it through prophecy, and understanding the times that we're in. We're in a time of war right now. You see? Missiles is getting shot off now.
The United States military began major combat
in terms of how we got here. But let's talk about just these past few months, from the demonstrations in Iran that were taking place, but also these negotiations between U.S. and Iran that were also going on.
They have been ongoing, these negotiations, but if you remember, President Trump at first threatened to go after Iran in the last month because of the massive protests that you saw across Iran, and thousands killed, thousands of protesters, according to human rights groups who are keeping track of this. The president threatened Iran, and then he has talked very little about the protests, that is not the reason that President Trump wanted to go into Iran. He talked about these nuclear sites. Just at the State of the Union, the president said that he wanted to make sure that Iran didn't have a nuclear weapon, but he also said at the State of the Union that the U.S. had obliterated the nuclear facilities inside Iran. That is clearly not the case if he wants to go back and get rid of the enriched uranium. He wants to make sure these facilities are destroyed. I have to say it's quite unusual that they would go after Tehran in the daytime. I think one of the reasons that President Trump...
Well, a couple of things. All right, we'll come back to this, Lord willing. All right, you heard this talk about negotiation, which there's not going to be any negotiations because, like the scriptures say, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. All right, and you have this video of Nero giving a speech, okay, and the way that his words is coming out, and just the spirit that he's coming in, this is Yahweh Bahashemi Al-Shai literally possessing him and making him do the will of the Lord. So these nations can't control what they're doing because ultimately it's going to lead to them coming down to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, where Yahweh Bahashemi Al-Shai is going to judge them over there in the Middle East. And that's where World War III is going to take place. So the Lord, he essentially has a spiritual hook in their mouths, and he's pulling them to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat over there in the Middle East, and they're going to fight because the Lord wants them to. These nations are nothing more but little green action figures that the Lord uses on his chessboard because the earth is the Heavenly Father's footstool. Okay, now you heard this talk about negotiations between Iran and things of this nature. Well, Yahweh, and then you have Trump. He tried to establish this so-called board of peace, right? But Yahweh Bahashemi Al-Shai doesn't have peace for these nations, man. Okay, the end goal in end time prophecy is for these nations to fight each other and Yahweh Shai to come back and destroy them all. The Lord is going to make these nations fight. Okay, and that's World War III. So this is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. It says, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. As travail upon a woman with child, they shall not escape." And they can escape the will of the Lord, man, because this is Yahweh Bahashemi Al-Shai's indignation to destroy these nations and to gather them in that valley, man. Okay? So it's not really up to God, Emperor Nero, or any of these Eastern nations on what they want to do. This is why we're trying to tell you that Yahweh Bahashemi Al-Shai, that these words are faithful and true. The Lord has sent his servants, the prophets, to tell you of these things, that war is on the way, pestilence is on the way, famine is on the way. Okay? The dollar is being shot right now. Okay? You're going to have economic collapse over here in Babylon the Great. You see, we're telling you these things, and we're also telling you that America, Babylon the Great, is going to lose World War III. And this place is going to get nuked. They shall not escape. So there is no peace and safety for these nations, man. Okay? Let's get a little bit more of this video.
The past, in his first term, didn't want to go after Iran. They were worried about killing people. That is obviously collateral damage, innocent people. We don't know what we are looking at in terms of the strike in Tehran, but it is clearly in broad daylight, and people are likely on the streets. During these negotiations, I think one thing to remember is that as of yesterday, when these negotiations, and the president said he wasn't happy with them, the Iranians surely knew this would happen and would happen soon, that this wasn't just a show of force. President.
The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war.
Ain't no may have casualties, all right? There's going to be a lot of casualties, okay? There's going to be a lot of dead bodies. Now, right now, you don't have men on the ground going out to war, okay? It's a lot of missile strikes. It's a lot of aircrafts moving around and things of this nature. But this is just the beginning stages of war. Like the Lord said in Matthew, the 24th chapter, wars and rumors of wars, all right? Come on, man. Salaki. So before World War III ultimately pops off, okay, you're gonna have these initial birth pains, right? Wars and rumors of wars. You're gonna hear these things, but it's not, the end is not yet. So when you see Babylon the Great is starting to strike Iran, okay, these things are happening, right? The pot is starting to get stirred up. It's starting to get hot. That doesn't mean that next week World War III is going to happen. No, you have to understand the prophecy timeline. This is why we got 2 Esdras 9. So you measure the other time diligently in yourself. Okay, the Lord has a blueprint to these things. And here it is, the service, the prophets of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, starting off with our elder apostles and elder bishops on down to the great millstone, right? And all the brothers on down that teach the word in truth and sincerity, we're trying to tell you the blueprint, which ultimately is for the elect. This is Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So the Lord is telling you, when you hear wars and rumors of war, okay, it should make your ear tingle like, oh, Yahweh the Lord, he prophesied about this over 2,000 years ago. Okay, he said, be not troubled. All right, all these things do got to come to pass, but the end is not yet. So America, Babylon the Great is not going to get nuked tomorrow. They're not going to get nuked next week. You see that? The end is not yet. Matthew 24:7. For nation shall rise against nation. That's happening right now. And kingdom against kingdom. That's happening right now. There shall be famines. This is about to happen. And pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Okay? There's been an innumerable amount of earthquakes happening around the earth. And then you also have social earthquakes, right? Of people, like it says in 2 Esdras, the sedition and things of this nature. People have been rallying up and getting the love of many is waxing cold in these last days, man. All right. So all these things are coming, but all these are the beginnings of sorrows. It's not the end. This is just the initial birth pains before the baby comes out. And the baby coming out is Yahweh Shai coming back. You see? But before that, the woman, she got to go through travail. She got to feel those birth pains. And the earth is feeling the birth pains right now. Okay? Because prophecy is popping off the page. All right?
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries.
Now check this out, okay? And you hear God Emperor Nero saying all this stuff, Salakia. Watch my language. But all these talks of peace, okay, and all these talks like America, Babylon the Great is just this white angel golden child that, you know, everybody's fucking with us and we're just defending ourselves. No, Esau Edom is the devil. Okay, all these Edomites are devils, right? And you got the small hats, Amalek, okay, that are in the Holy Land right now that are pretending to be us, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which we are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites. They're not, right? But as you can see, okay, these niggas are not innocent. And ultimately, war is in his heart. I believe that's Psalms 50, Psalms 55. All right, now I'm going to pull that, but let's go back here, okay, because with the war popping off, it says the U.S. and Israel launched a major attack on Iran on Saturday. Okay? Salaki. So Babylon the Great and Israel have relations, okay, just to say the least, which we know that this is the United States of Israel. Okay, this is why you have this this movement of Christian Zionism, okay, which they have this philosophy of if you bless Israel, then you're gonna be blessed. So a lot of these white Christian nationalists, they claim that they're Zionists, which they're just supporting and doing the bidding of the small hats. You see that? But that's nowhere in the scriptures that the true biblical Hebrew Israelites will be in that position or be in a position on top of all the nations, like it says in the book of Numbers, the prophecy regarding Amalek, right? But going back to God Emperor Nero, Okay, he's trying to make it like, oh yeah, well, Iran. Ultimately, this nigga is wicked, man. Okay, this is Psalm 55 and 21, and he's the cancer of the earth. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war is in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. Right, because ultimately they want a regime change over there in Iran. All right, let's see if we can find it here. Let's see. Trump told Iranians, when we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will probably be your only chance for generations. So ultimately, God Emperor Nero, he wants to take over Iran, man. Okay? See that? So war is in his heart, man. All right? But Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua is putting the spirit on him so the least of the flock can draw them out. Okay? And ultimately, that's the snare that's laid for Babylon the Great, because here it is. They're in bed with the small hats. Okay? And the small hats is dragging their ass into a lot of trouble that Babylon the Great, they can't hold their weight like that. Okay? The American military is not ready for no major war like this, man. Okay? Because Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua is going to raise that ancient spirit in these Eastern nations to not give a shit and to go back to their old nature, right? These Eastern nations, they know war. They're used to bombings. They're used to war and things of this nature. America, Babylon the Great, like it says, what is that, Isaiah the 47th chapter? Tender and delicate, okay, O virgin daughter of Babylon. The Western nation and the Western people have waxed feeble as hell over time, man. Okay, these people are sodomites, right? And they drink Capri Suns over here. They're not ready for no major war like that, man. You see? This is Jeremiah 50 and 24. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. Okay, so the Lord has laid a snare for America, Babylon the Great. And what is that? Is that 49? Let's do this. It's cheap. The snare is this. This is Jeremiah 49 to 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai that he is taken against Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, and his purposes, that he hath proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. So the least of the flock is Amalek. Okay? So ultimately, Amalek, which is the so-called Israelis, they're going to draw Babylon the Great into the World War III, man. And this is the beginning stages of it. The Lord is just setting the stage for this, man. Okay? So all these wars and rumors of war is right here. Okay? And it's only going to escalate from here. All right? We can get a couple more precepts and close, because the Lord's indignation is ultimately to gather these nations for them to fight. And we see that happening right now. So it's called Halal Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, because these words are faithful and true. This is Joel 3 and 2. It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. All right. This is over there in the Middle East. And will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered amongst the nations and parted my land. This is World War III. So the Lord is going to bring all these nations, okay, all the nations of the earth over to this valley, all right, which is being dried up, by the way, okay. This is Revelation 16 and 12. It says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates over there in the east, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So the Lord is drying up the Euphrates River, so the kings can come through that region and they can get judged in Yahweh Shaphat, okay, which is Yahweh's judgment. So all these prophecies are starting to pop off the page, and we're telling you that the Lord is moving. Okay? So yes, war is here. You see that? And let's close out with this. This is Isaiah 34 and 1. So this is Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai's wrath against the nations, right? And this is the beginning stages of it. This is Isaiah 34 and 1. It says, come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and the things to come, and the things and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He had delivered them to the slaughter. And him deliver them to the slaughter is over there to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. That is the Lord delivering them to the slaughter, right? Because that's where the Lord is going to ultimately make them fight with nuclear capabilities, okay? And then the chariots are going to come and rain fire upon this place when Yahweh Shai, Michael, and the rest of the heavenly hosts pull up. Isaiah 34:3, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. It tells you that the slain of the Lord shall be many. Okay, so Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai is bringing great deaths, great destructions, and great judgments to these nations for the controversy of Zion. So the Lord's finna do a lot of killing. Okay. Isaiah 34:4, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. All right, and this is talking about the mushroom cloud, right, from the nuclear destruction. Okay, the nuclear destruction is going to create a mushroom cloud like the game Fallout. When the nukes dropped, that's what's going to happen to Babylon the Great. Okay, and ultimately the land of Israel is going to get nuked too. But the difference is the land of Israel is going to be rebuilt. But America, Babylon the Great, nobody's ever going to live here again, man. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it will come down upon Idumea, which is the Greek way of saying Esau, Edom, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Okay, so this nation of people is cursed to judgment from the Heavenly Father, right? And in the speech, God Emperor Nero said, God bless America, which is completely diametrically opposed to what the Lord said right here, showing you that these niggas are coming after the working of Satan. Okay, the God that they worship is not Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. They hate the Heavenly Father. Okay, and the sword being bathed in heaven is the ICBMs. They're going to get shot up in the sky. They're going to get dipped in the heavens, all right? And they're going to come down on Idumea, man, all right? And this is the part of the curse. This is the part of the judgment that Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua is bringing, man. Isaiah 34:6, the sword of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua is filled with blood. It is made with fat, with fatness, and the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai have a sacrifice in Basra, okay? Which Basra was, you know, one of the capital cities back in Edom. But modern day Basra right now is America, Babylon the Great, okay? And a great slaughter in the land of Idumea, right? So the ICBM missiles is going to hit, and all this is going to happen during World War III, man. You see that? Let's play a little bit more of this.
Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorists.
For joining us this morning, I'm Natalie Haddad. President Trump announced the attacks early this morning, saying they are aimed at eliminating security threats from Iran. Now, at this hour, witnesses report hearing explosions and air raid sirens across the Middle East. We're going to get the latest right now from ABC.
Turning back now to that breaking news, the U.S. and Israel have launched a massive attack on Iran. President Donald Trump warning that this military campaign will not be brief, and it may end with American casualties. This is the second time that American strikes have targeted Iran in the last year. ABC's Michelle Franzen has more.
The strikes by Israel and the U.S. hitting targets in Tehran during the morning. Video showing large plumes of smoke billowing against the blue skies with Iranians seemingly caught off guard. President Trump at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida making the announcement to Americans and the world.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
Earlier, Israeli officials called the strikes preemptive and issued a state of emergency, telling Israelis to be on alert. Strikes in the region with the U.S. Embassy in Bahrain.
All right. That's pretty much the point. I'll get this last precept and I'll close. This is Psalms 73. And 7, it says, their hearts pour out evil, and their minds are busy with wicked schemes. They laugh at other people and speak of evil things. They are proud and make plans to oppress others. And Esau Edom, he wants to take over the whole earth, man. Okay, it tells you in the book of Habakkuk 2, he enlarges his desire as hell. You see that? So they make evil plans. They wake up and do wicked because this is the wicked that the Bible speaks of. They were created to do this. Psalm 73 and 9, the GNT. They speak evil of the Most High in heaven and give arrogant orders to everyone on the earth. All right. So they're giving arrogant orders to everybody on the earth because America, Babylon the Great, is the hammer of the earth. All right. So God Emperor Nero, he's going to use the U.S. military to go around and move weight. OK, like a big booty black woman, you know. They're just going to come around and move their weight all, you know what I'm saying? Because they have the power to do so. But Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai's indignation is to take the sword from them and ultimately destroy them, man. Okay? So, Lord willing, this is edifying to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. On end up by giving all glory, all honor, and all praise be to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai Ba'ashim Kakodash. Next, double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone who rule well, who teach well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Kwame Asharala, a Bible ball. Keep the faith. Shalom.